You're all welcome to today's news analysis. This is not noise. This is not rumor. This is serious global politics meeting Nigerian justice. If you care about Nigeria, if you care about fairness, if you care about what happens to Nnamdi Kanu, then you must listen till the end. Before we go deep, please subscribe to this channel. Turn on your notification bell, so you don't miss important updates like this. This channel breaks news with sense, not emotion. Now let's begin. Something big has happened outside Nigeria. Something many people did not expect. A United States Senator, Tina Smith, who represents Minnesota, has called for the US Senate to set up a panel. Not a talk. Not a statement. A panel. This panel is meant to investigate the life sentence given to Nnamdi Kanu. Let that sink in. This is not a tweet that fades away. This is not a protest sign. This is a formal call inside one of the most powerful lawmaking bodies in the world. When a US senator asks for a panel, it means documents, questions, hearings, and pressure. It means attention that does not go away easily. The timing is also important. On the 20th of November, Nnamdi Kanu was sentenced to life imprisonment by Judge Omotosho. Shortly after that judgment, Kanu was moved to Sokoto prison. That movement raised eyebrows. Supporters asked why he was taken far from Abuja. Lawyers asked why the process moved so fast. Observers asked why such a sensitive case ended the way it did. Now, months later, the issue has crossed borders. Senator Tina Smith is not speaking as an activist. She is speaking as a lawmaker. She is asking the US Senate to look into possible errors in the judgment. Errors that may touch on fair hearing, legal process, and judicial conduct. This is where the story becomes wider than one man. When a foreign Senate looks into a court decision, it is not saying Nigeria cannot judge its own cases. It is saying the case may touch on human rights, and human rights do not stop at borders. The United States has laws that allow its lawmakers to question cases abroad when they involve detention, trial standards, and treatment of defendants. That is the wider context many people miss. This is not random interest. It is part of global politics. Nigeria is a major partner to the United States in Africa. Security, trade, oil, and regional stability all connect both countries. When a case like this raises concerns, it can affect how Nigeria is seen on the global stage. That is why this matters. The senator also wants the panel to look at possible political involvement, including the role of the Tinubu government. Again, this is not a verdict. It is a question. But questions at this level are powerful. They suggest that the judgment may not be seen as purely legal by outsiders. They suggest that politics may have played a role, directly or indirectly. And once that idea enters official records, it is hard to remove. For many Nigerians, this feels familiar. The Kanu case has always been emotional. Supporters see him as a symbol. Critics see him as a security issue. The state sees him as a defendant. But courts are meant to rise above emotion. They are meant to be slow, careful, and clear. That is why a life sentence attracts attention. It is the strongest punishment short of death. When such a sentence is given, every step before it must be clean. No shortcuts. No doubts. The call for a US Senate panel suggests that some people believe those steps may not have been fully clean. And then there is the prison transfer. Moving Kanu to Sokoto prison added another layer of concern. People asked about access to lawyers. They asked about distance from family. They asked about safety and conditions. All these questions now form part of the wider picture. This is no longer just a Nigerian court story. It is becoming a global justice story. And that is the key point of this chapter. When justice appears shaky, it attracts light. When light shines, silence ends. Whether one supports Nnamdi Kanu or not, the issue here is bigger. It is about how Nigeria handles high-profile cases. It is about how strong our institutions are under pressure. It is about whether our courts can stand firm when politics is loud. That is why a single call from a US senator matters so much. It opens doors Nigerians did not open themselves. It brings questions Nigeria may not want to answer. And it sets the stage for what could come next. This is how the story truly begins. Now let us go deeper. Because this issue is not only about a sentence. It is about how that sentence came to be. When Senator Tina Smith called for a U.S. Senate panel, she did not say the court made a mistake by accident. She said there may be errors. That word is careful. But it is heavy. Errors mean something went wrong along the way. In serious court cases, especially ones that end in life imprisonment, every step matters. From arrest, to detention, to trial, to judgment. If one step fails, the whole case becomes weak. This is why the senator's request focuses on process, not emotion. One major concern being raised is fair hearing. Fair hearing means the accused must have enough time, access, and freedom to defend himself properly. It means lawyers must work without pressure. It means the court must appear neutral, not rushed. Many observers believe the Kanu trial did not fully meet that standard. Another concern is jurisdiction. This is a legal word, but the meaning is simple. It asks a basic question. Did the court have full power to handle the case the way it did? If jurisdiction is shaky, even a strong judgment can collapse later. Then there is the issue of speed. Life sentences usually come after long, careful trials. But in this case, many people felt the ending came too fast, too sharp, too final. That speed is part of what attracted global attention. Now let us talk about politics. This is the most sensitive part. The senator's call mentions possible government involvement, including the Tinubu administration. Again, this is not a conviction. It is a concern. But concerns at this level do not appear from nowhere. For years, critics have said the Kanu case sits at the edge of law and politics. Security agencies see him as a threat. Supporters see him as a voice. Politicians see a problem they want solved. When politics enters a courtroom, justice begins to shake. The U.S. Senate panel, if created, will ask hard questions. Was there pressure on the judiciary? Were decisions influenced by political interest? Did the government want a quick end to the matter? These are not comfortable questions. But they are necessary ones. And then there is the silence. Nigeria's official response so far has been careful. No strong denial. No full explanation. Just quiet confidence. But silence can speak loudly. In global politics, silence is often read as uncertainty. And uncertainty invites more pressure. The movement of Nnamdi Kanu to Sokoto prison also fits into this picture. Prison transfers are not illegal. But timing and distance matter. Why Sokoto? Why so far? Why immediately after sentencing? To supporters, it looks like isolation. To critics, it looks like control. To foreign observers, it raises questions about access and treatment. All of this now sits on the table. And this is why the U.S. Senate interest is dangerous for Nigeria's image. Once a case enters international discussion, it is no longer handled quietly. Reports are written. Briefings are made. Records are stored. Even if nothing changes legally, perception changes. And perception shapes policy. This is how countries get placed on human rights watch lists. This is how travel warnings begin. This is how trust weakens. For Nigerians, this moment is uncomfortable but important. It forces a question many avoid. Are our institutions strong enough to handle sensitive cases without political shadow? Because the world is not judging Nigeria by words. It is judging Nigeria by systems. And right now, the Kanu case is being used as a test. A test of judicial independence. A test of rule of law. A test of leadership restraint. This is why Chapter 2 matters. The issue is no longer whether you like Nnamdi Kanu or not. That argument is finished. The real issue is whether Nigeria's justice can defend itself under global light. And the silence, the errors, and the politics are all feeding that light. What happens next will depend on how Nigeria responds. This is where everything comes together. Because from this point, the issue stops being just a court matter. It becomes a national test. If the US Senate agrees to set up this panel, Nigeria will not be dealing with noise on social media. It will be dealing with structured pressure. Questions will be asked in formal rooms. Answers will be expected, not suggested. This is how global attention works. It moves slowly at first. Then it becomes heavy. For Nigeria, this moment carries risk. The country has always defended its right to handle its own legal matters. And that right is real. But the world also expects certain standards, especially in cases that involve long detention, political tension, and life sentences. This is why the Kanu case now matters beyond the Southeast. Beyond supporters. Beyond critics. It touches Nigeria's image. If the panel moves forward, Nigeria may be asked to explain the full legal process. Not in press statements, but in documents, in timelines, in records. That kind of review can expose strengths, but it can also expose weaknesses. And this is where leadership matters. The Tinubu government will have to choose a path. Defend the judgment strongly, or allow room for review. Both options carry cost. A strong defense means Nigeria must prove that the process was clean from start to finish. No gaps. No rushed steps. No political shadow. A review, on the other hand, may calm global pressure. But it may also reopen old wounds at home. Either way, silence will not work anymore. The case has crossed into international awareness. And once that happens, control reduces. For Nnamdi Kanu himself, this does not mean instant freedom. That must be said clearly. Panels do not free prisoners. They influence systems. But influence can lead to outcomes. It can lead to case reassessment, sentence review, diplomatic engagement, legal reform pressure. History has shown this many times. Countries rarely change because they want to. They change because pressure becomes uncomfortable. For Nigerians watching, this moment demands maturity. This is not a time for insults. It is not a time for blind loyalty. It is a time to ask serious questions. Is justice being done in a way that can stand global scrutiny? Are our courts protected from political pressure? Are sensitive cases handled with patience and balance? These questions do not weaken Nigeria. They strengthen it. Strong nations question themselves. Weak ones hide. The transfer of Kanu to Sokoto prison will also remain part of the discussion. Access to lawyers. Distance from family. Conditions of detention. These issues may look small inside Nigeria. But outside, they matter. Human rights discussions are built on details. And details shape decisions. What happens next will not be loud at first. There may be no breaking headlines tomorrow. But quiet processes may already be starting. Briefings. Letters. Meetings. This is how serious matters move. For the Nigerian government, this is a chance to show confidence in its institutions. Not through anger. Not through denial. But through clarity. For Nigerians, this is a moment to stay informed. To avoid lies. To reject hate. To demand fairness. Because one truth stands above everything. This story is no longer just about Nnamdi Kanu. It is about Nigeria's justice standing in the open. And when justice stands in the open, it must be strong enough to face the light. The next steps will define more than a case. They will define trust. And that is why this chapter matters most. This is not the end of the story. It is the turning point. This moment should make every Nigerian pause and think. Not because a foreign senator has spoken, but because the world is now paying attention to how Nigeria handles justice. The life sentence given to Nnamdi Kanu, the speed of the process, and the transfer to Sokoto prison have combined into one powerful question. Is the system strong enough to stand open review? This is not about emotion. It is not about taking sides. It is about credibility. When a nation's justice system is trusted, outside voices do not matter. But when doubts exist, even one voice can grow loud. Nigeria is at a crossroads. One path leads to silence, pride, and resistance. The other leads to clarity, confidence, and proof. History shows that truth does not fear questions. Only weakness does. The call for a US Senate panel may fade, or it may grow. That will depend on Nigeria's response, not America's interest. What Nigerians must understand is simple. Justice is not only for today. It is for the record of tomorrow. Decisions made now will shape how future cases are judged, how future leaders are trusted, and how Nigeria is seen by the world. This is why the Kanu case matters beyond the man. It is a mirror showing how power, law, and restraint work together, or fail. Whatever happens next, one thing is clear. This story has crossed a line it cannot return from. And when justice enters the global space, it no longer belongs to silence. It belongs to scrutiny. The way Nigeria handles this moment will speak louder than any statement, stronger than any defense, and longer than any denial. That is the truth Nigerians must sit with.